Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Do we do a roll call for this, Stefan? We have quorum, correct? Right. Good, thank you. And do we have anybody online? No, thank you. Pleased to close any pecuniary interest, if appropriate at the proper time. Move into the long-term care division. I'll have a mover and a seconder, please, to bring we're going to do report A first, separate that from B. So in A, there are two parts, A and B. We will also separate those out. We'll put both on the floor, and I'll deal with one and then the other. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Miller, Councillor Cook. Move into AA, information report dated October 19th. Any questions, discussion? Councillor Bird, please.
Thank you. Through the chair to staff, I have several questions actually on this report. I'm a little bit disappointed that it says that October 6, 21, that MLTC announced investments to immediately increase staffing in long-term care homes, etc. Yes, something was put in place in January, but the scheduling modernization project was not received favourably by anybody, and staff will know that because I did send in reports with all the names and everything else. So because we need more staff, and I go on to read here, maybe you haven't got enough PSWs, you haven't got enough people to meet all these requirements of this new schedule that you've put in place. So my first question is, how much has been spent on bringing people in from agencies to cover this?
I'll turn that over to Ms. George, please.
Through you. Am I good? Through you, Chair Ferguson. I don't have that number, but I can certainly do a report on that. The agency staffing that we've used mostly in 2022 has been registered staff, so registered nurses, registered practical nurses. I believe that we do have, I think at Lambton Meadowview Villa, we might have had some agency PSWs, but I don't have those numbers just off the top of my head, but I can certainly get those for you.
Continuing on that same point, could you please give us some indication of how the meeting went with Lambton College?
Yes, I can, through you, Warden Chair Ferguson. We had a meeting early in October and discussed a variety of changes that are happening to the nursing programs at Lambton College. So all of the colleges, the 24 colleges in the province, are working on a number of different ways to offer particularly the nursing programs. And we talked about the work placements and how they will change as well. None of that information is really available to the public right now because they're still working through that. You can imagine that 24 colleges having to agree on what they're going to do with work placements, the training. Some of it is online, and as well as housing for students. So I think that they think early in the new year there'll be more information about that.
And just one final question on this. I notice it says on page 5 of the report, it says it's important to note that homes will not be held accountable if the 3 hours and 15 minutes of care for each person as outlined is not achieved. So if the homes are not held accountable, can you please tell me who will be held accountable if residents are not receiving all the care that they should or that they've already paid for?
What's embedded in the legislation is a system-wide average. So the ministry will be looking at the average of the care provided across all of the homes in the sector. And it's also an annual average. So this report is about the last quarter, but that amount will be averaged throughout the year, and then it will be averaged throughout the sector. The funding that's provided, if it's not used, it would need to be returned for the ministry. So I think that's the accountability piece there, is we do report quarterly the hours of care. And so if that was not being met, there would be discussions with the ministry about the funding, I think.
Thank you. All in favor of 3AA? Carried, thank you. Move into B, 3A/B. Information report on the COVID-19 update. Any questions on that one or discussion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Oh. I put everything on the floor with 3A and broke it into two parts. So invitations, moving a second to bring that to the floor. This is to receive and file, I expect. Councillor Cook, Councillor Romboats, any discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Bushy. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Any other business in the long-term care division, please? Councillor Romboats.
Thank you. I just had a question. The day program that we had going on in Petrolia, is that back up and running now?
Yeah, through you, Chair Ferguson. Yes, actually, both the day programs are running at Marshall Golden Manor. We were only running 5 days instead of 6, but we've managed to go back to the 6 days. And we increased the numbers a couple of weeks ago, so that I believe that the wait list has been looked after as well.
Follow up, Councillor Romboats.
Yes, I just wanted to offer our new community center as a possibility sometime down the road as a day program, maybe 1 day a week for people who are on like east of the county. We have a beautiful facility there, and we would love to partner with long-term care in some way and maybe Lambton Elderly Outreach. We have a lot of people aging in place in our community, and their caregivers are in need of respite. That's something that I'm hearing at the doors, and we want to make sure that we're able to care for them before they burn out and have to go to long-term care ahead of the schedule. So maybe that's something that you want to keep in mind for the coming budget or for next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other business? Seeing none, I'll move on to, there is no corporate service division reports today. Move into the finance, facilities, and court service division. There is a 5A and a 5B. We'll put 5A on the floor. Move in a seconder, please, to bring the information report forward regarding Bayside Center activity update. Councillor Miller and Councillor Bushy. Questions on that, please? Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Move into B, reports requiring a motion, the capital grant requests. So this is B. Move in a second to bring this report to the floor, please. Councillor Cook and Councillor Marriott, discussion on this, please. Councillor Cook.
Just more of a comment. I agree with what the recommendation is from our treasurer. I believe it's very good right now that we're kind of minding our dollars, because we do have a lot of potential things coming up in the future. So I highly recommend the report from our general manager. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Any other business? Seeing none, move into social services division. 6A, and there will be 3 parts. We'll put them all on the floor at once, but I will discuss each one separately. So moving to seconder. Councillor Romboats, Councillor Warden Marriott. I will move into now 6AA. Questions, discussion on that one. Councillor Bird.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. Thank you, Chair Ferguson. Through the chair to staff, so I've just got a couple of questions on this area. I'm looking at your report, and I know that, how you've said that the social assistance rates have really, the fact that they haven't increased for 5 years has really exacerbated the situation. However, I mean, I have put in 2 motions, one to get decrease in rents, to make them more affordable, and also to increase the social assistance payments. Now, I've not heard anything further to that. I don't know how much, when a motion is carried and a letter is sent off to one of the upper levels of government, or several of the upper levels, I don't know how much follow-up staff does, or if they do follow up on that, do you sort of chase them? If they haven't answered you, do you look for some reply from them?
Through you, Chairperson Ferguson, to Councillor Bird. I have not followed up with the ministry office. I might look to our clerk's office to ask what our regular process is.
Yes, thank you. So those motions and resolutions of council were sent off to the ministry, and I believe following that, I think you had asked a question maybe in a committee or council meeting as to what had happened, and what we were anticipating at the time was ODSP changing, and I believe ODSP rates following that resolution were increased roughly 5%.
Thank you. My next point is just sort of an observation really here, that because we've still got, as you say in the report, staff, that we've got 170 known, probably more. You know, there could be 200 or 300 people out there that they're not registered or we don't know. I realise that. But when you talk about the tremendous gains that have been made, anybody that's reading these public documents who's affected, who is homeless, they don't look upon it as any tremendous gains, because while there's still people out there, 170 or more, we still need a lot of action. So the other point I wanted to just ask you was, on page 17 of the report, you're talking about community outreach staff, and you're talking about a particular percentage of people, and you say that a further 8% were youth and 23% were identified as having Indigenous ancestry. Well, that struck me rather odd. Like, why identify 30%? What about the other 70% and their ancestry? And should we be mentioning any of this in a public document at all? Through to staff, please.
Ferguson to Councillor Bird. Those are some of the targets or some of the identifying features that we capture through our HIFIS system. We've been asked by the federal government to actually track those, and I think it's because we want to make sure that we have culturally appropriate programs for our outreach for Indigenous individuals, and we want to make sure that we're partnering with the Sarnia-Lambton Native Friendship Center. So we identify as priorities chronic homelessness, seniors, youth, Indigenous. I think those are our main priorities. So that is something that we'll be reporting on a regular basis.
I understand why you might need that information. My question really is why you're putting it in a public document, because for those that aren't identified, or those that are, it just seems a little bit discriminatory to having it in a public document to say, you know, 30% have an Indigenous ancestry without saying what the other 70% have. It was just a thought how it occurred to me when I read it. So one, I understand you need the information, but I think it should be kept private because it just jumps out at me. Just my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further remarks? Councillor Cook?
Thank you. So just to follow up with what's the conversation, I think the 2 ladies sitting at our general managers have the toughest jobs of our county right now, both with looking after the seniors and on our low-income housing. That's probably the most challenging that we have out there. I appreciate everything that they're doing to keep us in good in numbers as we are, and I don't really know where the issues are coming from, other than the fact that COVID did not help anything, and a lot of the things that are happening are being exacerbated just by the fact that we have not getting enough provincial and federal funding to give us more homeless housing and things like that. So keep up the good work you're doing, and I appreciate everything that you got so far.
Thank you. Any further discussion? So I'll call the question on 6AA. All in favor? Thank you. Moving to 6A/B, Immigration Partnerships Update. Any discussion on that, please? All in favor? Carried, thank you. In 6A/C, centralized waiting list priority. Discussion on that, please. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Any other business under Social Service Division? Hearing none, have a motion to go in camera. Councillor Bushy, Councillor Brownboats, all in favor? Carried, thank you. You're online now? Good, thank you. Motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Brownboats, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.